From Church Militant Studios, this is the Church Militant Evening News.
Hello, and thank you for joining us this Thursday, February 16th. I'm James Fedewa, along with Hunter Bradford here with Catholic News and Context. Before we get started tonight, this just in moments ago, a Catholic woman in the UK has been cleared of any wrongdoing. In a viral video back in December, Isabel Von Spruce was arrested outside an abortion mill in Birmingham by 3 police officers because she, quote, might be praying in her head. Birmingham Magistrates Court found Von Spruce not guilty of violating a Public Space Protection Order, PSPO for short. A PSPO prohibits specific things to be done in a particular area around abortion mills. We will have more on this story tomorrow. But tonight, even the mainstream media is having it out with Biden's FBI. Why an Indian nun would murder one of her fellow sisters, and the Freemasons got their feelings hurt and want the Pope to personally apologize. Leading us off tonight, both the Washington Post and the New York Times are blasting the FBI for targeting traditional Catholics who love the Latin Mass. The FBI memo, however, distinguishes between traditionalist Catholics who prefer the Latin Mass versus radical traditionalist Catholics who discount the Second Vatican Council as invalid and harbor disdain for post-Vatican II popes. Meanwhile, an article in The Federalist points out the USCCB had nothing to say about the memo, which targets Church Militant by name.
In a landmark case, the Delhi High Court has condemned a virginity test conducted on a nun. Sister Sephi and her priest accomplice were sentenced to life imprisonment in December 2020 for murdering a novice Sister Abhaya in the St. Pius X convent in Kerala. Abhaya allegedly discovered Sephi in a compromising position with 2 priests on the night of the murder. India's Central Bureau of Investigation forced her to take a virginity test to prove she was sexually active. But Sister Sephi says that the results were fabricated. In response, she petitioned the court to punish the investigators who had forced her to take the test. In a 57-page ruling obtained by Church Militant, Justice Swarna Kanta Sharma declared that the virginity test, quote, is unconstitutional and in violation of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which includes the right to dignity.
All right, and here with more on this shocking story is our Rome correspondent, Dr. Jules Gomez. So, Jules, are Sister Sephi and the other 2 priests out of jail?
Good evening, James. The first priest was set free in 2018. He was discharged for lack of evidence. Sister Sephi and the other priest, Father Jules Gomez, were released in June 2022. They were let out on bail, and their life sentences were terminated by the High Court.
Jules, this is a pretty, like I said, shocking story. This is just sort of a lot of people will hear this and think, whoa. But what is so significant about this? What does this mean for the church in India? Why is this so significant?
James, the murdered sister Abhaya, can trace her roots back to the families baptized by the Apostle St. Thomas, who came to India to preach the gospel in AD 52. Now, India has one of the most ancient apostolic churches in the world, brought by St. Thomas, obviously, and this church was independent. It came under the Patriarch of Babylon. It was supplemented by Syrian migrations in the 2nd century. And it was independent of Rome for 1,500 years or more. And when the Portuguese missionaries, the Catholic missionaries, came in the 16th century, they were initially delighted to see these St. Thomas Christians, but then persecuted them quite severely. In fact, there was torture. Their liturgical texts were burnt, and at the Synod of Diamper in 1599, forced them to come under Rome. So there's always been a conflict between, and an internal conflict as well, because some of these churches became uniate churches, some remained, ancient Syria, to put it simply. But these Christians, particularly the murdered sister, they're very powerful. And because of their status in Indian society, the police were forced. And we've said that this is the longest criminal investigation for murder in that state of Kerala. And one reason what kept it alive was this ancient Christian tradition and the respect people give it in India. But this is quite significant because a lot of things, that are going on in Rome at the moment, and we'll talk more about it in future stories, need an appreciation of the historical background of this church in India.
Absolutely. Jules, thank you very much for coming on and talking with us. Again, Jules, we'll see you real soon.
Thank you, James.
God bless.
All right, gentlemen. Freemasons in Italy don't like the church's teaching against Freemasonry being reiterated by their local bishop, so they're turning to Pope Francis for support. All Archbishop Bruno Forte did was issue a letter on February 7th, which quoted the CDF's 1984 condemnation of Freemasonry, written by Cardinal Ratzinger and approved by Pope St. John Paul II. But the Freemasons in Italy hope Holy Father Francis intervenes. They even quoted Pope Francis's third encyclical Fratelli Tutti, which says, "We should also recognize that destructive forms of fanaticism are at times found among religious believers, including Christians. They too can be caught up in networks of verbal violence." Freemasonry has been repeatedly condemned by the Church through Popes Clement XII, Pius VII, and Leo XIII.
An archdiocese in England tweeted a picture of an LGBT cross, but deleted it in less than 24 hours. The Archdiocese of Liverpool tweeted yesterday, "The next LGBTQ plus Catholic families and friends gathering will be on Sunday, the 26th of February at St. Bede's Church in Appleton Village. All are very welcome." In St. Bede's bulletin from this past Sunday, on the top of the third page, it says the Mass is to offer support to this community and their families as they live out their Catholic faith. Church Militant reached out to a priest associated with the parish to ask if practicing homosexuals will be receiving Holy Communion, but as of press time have not gotten a response.
In Colorado, a group of women are saying they were denied communion for wearing rainbow masks. Two of these women went up to receive communion on Saturday, February 11th at All Souls Catholic Parish in Denver, but were shocked to get only a nod from the priest telling them to leave. One of the women told local media they wore the gay pride masks to show their support for a lesbian teacher who was fired from the parish school in late January.
Our whole intent was to support and stand in solidarity for Maggie.
Days ago, Church Militant reported on the teacher named Maggie Barton, who claimed she was wrongfully discriminated against when she was let go from her teaching job at All Souls Catholic School.
After 3 years, the Diocese of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is announcing it has completed its bankruptcy reorganization. Bishop Ronald Gaynor released a statement following today's completed Chapter 11 process, proclaiming, "While it is my prayer that the trust established through this process will bring some level of restitution for the abuse each survivor has endured, I acknowledge that no amount of money will ever make reparations for these horrific and sinful acts." The established compensation fund will hold $18.25 million for victims of sex abuse.
The Archdiocese of Oklahoma City took the next step in pursuing a state-funded online Catholic charter school. Yesterday, people with the Archdiocese presented their case of St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School to the state's Virtual Charter School Board. The board has until April 29th to respond. If the board approved St. Isidore, it would open for the 24 to 25 school year. It would be open to people of any belief about God, but stay true to the one true faith while serving somewhere between 400 and 500 students. And luckily for the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, people up in South Bend, Indiana are supporting them. Notre Dame Law School's Religious Liberty Clinic has supported the Archdiocese, offering their advice and collaboration. And when we come back, Canada's devastating euthanasia laws are lining the pockets of a gruesome industry. And this Republican senator is watching out for the unvaccinated Americans. Stay tuned. All that and more up next.
Thank you for watching the first half of Church Militant Evening News.
If you would like to watch the rest of today's episode, please click the link in the description, and we'll see you at churchmilitant.com. God love you.